All right, welcome everyone. This is the WordPress Naperville meetup for February 2023. And today we're talking about custom post types. Okay, question, can anybody see my screen? You probably can't. I don't think I've shared it. Here we go.
Cannot see it. Not yet.
There we go. I was so proud of myself for getting it hooked up to the overhead monitor that I forgot to actually share it on Zoom. There we go. Okay, now can you see my screen?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great, thanks. Okay, working with custom post types. Okay, we're starting off with some basic vocabulary. And let me make sure I can go for it. Okay, so brief overview of this talk. What are post types in general? How are custom post types different from the normal post types you have in WordPress? Why use them? What's the point? What can you do with them? And then a live demo of how to make your own using free plugins. So it can be very confusing to talk about post types because we use the word posts and page to mean both general things and specific things. So in WordPress, when I say a post type, I mean a type of content, like a page is a type of content, media is a type of content. Weirdly, things like navigation menus are types of content. We'll get into that. But in WordPress, we mostly have posts and pages as our two main types of content. Each type of content has its own functionality, its own fields, and it behaves differently in both the back end, the WordPress admin panel, and the front end, the website that users interact with, if they have been programmed to do so. So I'm going to try to remain very specific when I talk. A post in general is an item of content, a single content record in the WordPress database. So like a single post with a certain date, a certain author, and certain words in it. Post also specifically refers to a blog post in WordPress, the default content type. And a page is a different post type in WordPress. It's used for more for evergreen content. It doesn't necessarily get sorted by date. You use pages for like your about page, your contact us page, something that's going to be at the same URL in your navigation, a landing page. And they often have parent-child relationships. And we also use web page to sort of mean generically any particular location that's a URL on the website. I'm going to try to stick to being very specific when I talk about posts, but I usually just mean a content record in the database. WordPress has about 8 default post types that it comes with. The ones we're most familiar with are posts, blog posts, pages. Like I was saying, pages are your landing pages. Therefore, your content is going to be basically the same from year to year. Unlike posts, which kind of cycle out of use, usually they have a published date on them and they're sorted by from newest to oldest. And then media are a post type. We often don't think of them as one, but they have content, they have the media that's associated with them, and they have all the fields that help you manage that media. There's also some weird kind of secret post types that we aren't going to talk about in this in this presentation, except to mention them. Those are navigation menus, revisions, block templates, and template parts. And this is because WordPress is so old and was originally built as a blogging platform. So in WordPress, everything is a post, except for like users and taxonomy. WordPress just has this weird data structure underneath that compared to things like Drupal or, whatever else is kind of inefficient and old fashioned, but WordPress expects everything to be a post. So some of this is sort of shoehorned in. Don't worry about these weird utility post types. They just do their own thing and we're not going to mess with them. So a custom post type is not in the WordPress default. It's something that either you have created or a plugin or a theme has created it for you. And it's going to be different in functionality in that it has its own code associated with it. It has some fields associated with it. It does something unusual like a product or an event or something. It could be visually distinct from the other post types on your site because in WordPress, having a different post type is the easiest way to sort of split templates so that you can create different appearances for each one. And it could also have different organization. All post types, when you create one, it has its own archive. It has its own sort of record it has its own menu item in the admin panel. So it can really help you add a layer of organization to your site that you might not otherwise have. I'm going to stop there for questions, I think. I don't see my chat window. Okay. Hello, everyone. I will continue. Okay, so that's too abstract. This is all extremely abstract. Let's look at some examples. Our first example is products, which I bet a lot of us are familiar with because WooCommerce, the free e-commerce plugin, is something that if you need to sell something on your site, you just slap it on there and you're done. This website belongs to, and okay, it's not quite that simple, but it's pretty simple. This website belongs to the guy I buy my honey from. He is not a web developer. He's just a guy who has a beehive. And you can see on his site, he's got a homepage. He's got a page about bees, and then he's got his shop, and his shop has two products, and these are the custom post types provided by WooCommerce. And you can see that they have, if we click through, it's very obvious that they have their own layout. Whoa, they have their own field, the price, whether it's in stock, how many there are, and then they have their own functionality, which is provided by the plugin that makes them, WooCommerce. So here's a custom post type that you're probably already pretty familiar with how it works. And if you needed to use this on your site, all you need to do is go grab the free version of WooCommerce and then figure out the shipping and everything from there, because that's the hard part. Another very commonly used custom post type are events. And many of us use the events calendar or events manager on our websites, again, because it's free. It does everything you need it to do, and also a bunch of other things too, probably. This is my shoestring budget client, and they have the free version of the events calendar on their site. And the main thing you're getting with the events calendar is, of course, the functionality. You're not getting a whole lot in terms of fancy layout on the posts. It just sort of puts everything there. But what you are getting is the archive. The listing view has these highly specialized, time-based varieties where it always knows what day it is, and it always divides it into past and present for you automatically. So again, a custom post type that we're all probably already pretty familiar with. So why would you want to make your own? Well, custom post types solve a problem, and depending on your website that you're dealing with, your particular client, their audience, their content, you may have need in your content for functionality, appearance, or organization that is not met by the default WordPress post types. So their custom post types are very useful when you have a specific type of content that is different from the posts and pages on your site. Say, for example, you had something like book reviews on your site. Maybe you'll have a blog, maybe you have pages. You also have book reviews. You don't want your book reviews to look or behave like the blog posts or the pages. So that's a great example of where you'd want to use a custom post type. If you have a lot of content on your site, custom post types can be very helpful in helping both your users and your site editors figure out where things go. For example, I have this client who has, hundreds of posts, I'd say, but he has split his posts into things like podcasts, exhibitions, publications, and they all look pretty much the same. But because he has, this is an academic institution, and he has interns or people who aren't familiar with the site come in and help him, he can tell an editor, just go to the back end, find the place where it says publications and put 3 publications in. And he doesn't have to tell, he doesn't have to train them on how to add categories, how to do, one of the strange things WordPress sometimes requires you to do to organize your content. It's very clear cut that to both the editors and the website users that if you're on the exhibitions page, you're looking at exhibitions. If you're on the publications page, you're looking at publications. Everybody can understand this level of organization. You might also have a very complex content model. This can happen particularly with businesses that deal with events or clients or some intersection of those, or sessions of things, things that need to be organized and connected in several different ways. I'll have an example of that in a little bit, but that can get very complicated, and having custom post types is really the only way to do that. We're not going to get too far into that level of complication today. Here is a custom post type that I use a lot that's about as simple as it can be. I build websites for primarily nonprofits and academic institutions. And the one thing that nonprofits and academics have is they always want to have somewhere on their website or they can feature the people who are associated with the organization. Everybody loves to see their profile. And though this is for a large organization, you can imagine if you had like a nail salon, you might want to have a page for each technician, or if you had, you know, I don't know, a clinic or something, you might want to have something for each therapist, something like that. So a person page is a person custom post type. I've put them in like the last 3 or 4 sites I've built, and they're not complicated. All they really are the featured image. The person's name is the title. This job title underneath is actually a custom field, and I'm going to show you briefly later how to add those. And then this page that's just the About People page is built out of WordPress blocks. And I'll also show you how you can create your own sort of DIY designed archive, as opposed to one of the auto-generated WordPress archives that look more like, you know, that you used to look more like blogs that look more like this, where they're just listed one after the other. So custom post types gives you both options with archives, custom made pages and automatically generated archives. Oh, this is my complicated example. So my previous example, people, this is a plugin I made myself, and I'm just going to briefly show you the code for this. It is literally, this is the plugin. It has 75 lines of code, and it's mostly copy and paste, and you just put the name of the plugin in, of the post type in there. If you feel like you want to venture into writing your own code, custom post type plugins are a great way to start, because it's about 50 lines of code, and all you do is copy and paste and change a few things. It's very easy to get started, and I can give you a copy of this one if you feel like you need an example. This next one, which is a complicated business model, was built by my colleague, who is a designer, not a developer. She doesn't describe herself as a developer at all, but this very complicated website has, it's for like a sort of a creativity spa retreat, has events, has retreats that are custom post types. They're associated with instructors. Each instructor is an example of an instructor custom post type. They have sessions and classes, locations. It's if we look at the back end here, we can see that there are, this is an example of complicated high volume. I'm not sure if you can see, I can make the thing a little bigger, but we've got podcasts, workshops, retreats, instructors, sessions, classes. These are all different custom post types. Whoops. And then I say this was made by a designer. She's using this plugin. She uses Beaver Builder for, which is a very widely used builder like Divi or Elementor, or similar to those, for the layout. And she uses Toolset to create the custom post types and custom taxonomies. Toolset is basically, it's a pretty expensive plugin. It's about $300 for a lifetime for as many sites as you want. And it will do all the coding for you if you need to create this kind of very complex content data model. When I first started out in WordPress, I invested in Toolset, and it was one of the smartest things I did right off the bat, because it just takes all the technical load right off you. I haven't used it in several years, but
did it help teach you?
They are extensively documented, and they have videos, and they have really good support. So yeah, if you need to build complicated multiple post type and taxonomy websites and you're not a coder, it's definitely something to look into. And it's too complex for me to go into tonight. I'm going to be showing you CPT UI, which is also a user interface for building post types, but much simpler and sort of minimalistic. So that was Evan's squaw markups. Okay.
What was the first one you said?
Toolset.
Toolset.
Toolset is the very complicated one. It'll do custom fields, custom taxonomies, custom post types. It'll help you put them in your templates and interrelate them all and set up queries for you. It's sort of like a builder for data for content models. So if you have determined that you need a custom post type for your website, where do you get one? Plugins, WooCommerce, Events Manager. If you needed a post type for recipes, I'm sure there's one out there, or for book reviews, my example I just gave. You can probably find a post type or a plugin rather that does that. You can make your own using one of the builder plugins like CPT UI, which I'm going to show tonight. You can make your own doing the copy paste thing, which is just literally copy pasted from the WordPress reference documents, and then you put your own words in. Sometimes you get custom post types included with a theme. Do not recommend that, because then your content is tied to the display of your site. And if you ever want to change, you kind of want to keep your content and your display separate so that you can change one without changing the other. If your custom post type is provided by your theme, then you can never change your theme without losing your content and having to do some sort of complicated migration. So always try to put your custom post types in a plugin if you're making your own, or use a plugin to create them. Don't either get them in a theme or write them into your themes if you're doing custom themes. Any questions? Good so far? All right.
No,
Yeah, sorry.
sorry, I'm thinking about this site I'm gonna be working on.
Nancy has a question.
I'm sorry, it has ECF Pro on there with CPT UI already, and they've been adding their content into that. If I swap out the theme, that data won't be lost.
Yep. Nancy asked a question. She's working on a site where I think that you said they're using Avada, and they're using Advanced Custom Fields Pro, and they're using CPT UI. Yeah, in that case, your content is being created by those two plugins. So if you change your theme, the content's still going to be there. It's totally now it won't, it's not going to automatically appear on the front end where you want it to.
Right.
That's the part you have to build. The data will still be underneath in the database.
Okay.
And you'll be able to go in there and get it. And I'll even show you a plugin later where if you need to change it into pages or posts or something, you can, this is a plugin that'll switch your post types for you. But yeah, as long as you're using a plugin and not a theme, you can change plugins without screwing up anything. Okay, one of the nice things about custom post types is that WordPress doesn't give them to you, but it is already set up to manage them. If you create a custom post type, WordPress knows exactly what to do with it. It'll create the archive for you. It'll, put it in search for you. It'll generate the pages for you. It kind of expects it to be there. As soon as you add it, WordPress will be looking for it, and it'll be included in your filter pull downs. Other plugins will recognize it. It's once you get it set up, you will start to see how you can work with it on your site. I forgot what my point was going to be at this point. I'm going to reiterate my point about right. My point is why a custom post type? If you've ever been in a situation where you're like, I need to make some of these posts different from other of these posts, and I'm just going to do that with a category. Like I had a website that I built a few years ago where there needed to be people on the website, and I was like, oh, I'm just going to create a category for people, la la la, and then I'll make sure that every time I'll just put a thing in the theme where every time the category is people, it'll display it this way. Except then the client's like, well, we're not going to call them people anymore. Now they're our team. And also there's people who've died and they need to be on the site too, but not on the same list as people who are our team. And then sometimes we have people who it's their birthday, so they need to be people, but they're also in this other list. So using categories and tags to create that kind of distinction in appearance and listing in between posts in WordPress, because the users of the website can edit categories and tags because they're intended to be changeable, don't pin your display hopes on those. Custom post types are much more permanent and they operate at a lower level. They use categories and tags. They can use the same categories and tags as your posts, but you're never going to get one post type in the menu confused with a different post type or your blogs in the menu. And the logic underlying it in WordPress isn't going to get that confused either. So don't fall into the trap of trying to create this sort of differentiation in appearance or functionality with categories. It's a bad scene.
I would have thought that was a good choice. Me too.
It's good for a few months until
What you did it for.
well, and frankly, it fit in the budget, but it's a couple years later and that client now has to migrate all their people to a new post type that I had to make in an emergency because it just doesn't meet their needs anymore and their site's screwed up. So, sooner or later.
Not your fault, I think for mine.
Right. So another thing that WordPress automatically, so WordPress will automatically, going back to appearance a little bit, in the WordPress full site editing that they have in the new themes, WordPress can automatically create templates for different post types. If you are creating a custom child theme, it is very easy to create different templates for different post types, because all you do is take something like archive and put the name of your post type after it in a file, and WordPress knows to use that. And I'm not familiar with builders, but from what I understand from people who are in this meetup, Beaver Builder, Divi, and Elementor will also recognize post types once they've been created and allow you to easily create templates for them. So it's built into the infrastructure of WordPress to be able to differentiate appearance by custom post type. Also, organization is built into WordPress. WordPress will automatically create archives, allow you to filter and assign taxonomy to new post types. Like I said, as soon as you create it, WordPress recognizes it starts showing up in different places in the admin panel. A couple other things about how post types are useful. They're good for SEO. I work with a content strategist whose job is to talk to the client and get them to map out their sitemap with, all the right words and the URLs, so that, for example, if there's a person on the website, the URL for the profile will be people/first name, last name. It's not going to be like category people. It takes you can use custom post types because you can customize the way the URLs are generated. You can create URLs that map exactly to how the content fits into your content structure. And it'll kind of take the extra words like category or post or whatever out of your URLs, so that your sitemap becomes an exact copy of what you want your human users to see when they navigate the site. And that just adds to SEO and helps with accessibility, and it helps users realize where they are and helps them navigate around the site and understand what the content is. Okay. Demo time.
There's a question that.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Nancy.
If you do have a site with custom post types that are in the theme, you can recover them in the new theme with the help of CPT UI or similar.
Oh, cool. Let me just turn on CPT UI. That's a great point, Christina. Thanks for pointing that out. I'm not super familiar with CPT UI. I kind of learned it for this. So I'm going to go over to CPT UI. So I've got CPT UI. Is this font big enough? Can you guys see what's going on here?
Is it a way to just turn these lights off?
Oh, shoot. Yeah. Do you mind doing that? It's the light switch right over there. Thanks. Hey,
Is that
okay. It works for me.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. We've just changed the lighting here. Okay. So I think what Christina is talking about how is in CPT UI, you can go to this view post types tab, and it'll list all the post types you have on your website, which is nice. So I have on my website, let me see, I'm going to show you my plugins. First, let me just show here. So here we have the default post types: post, pages, media. Events is coming from the events calendar, which we've seen how it looks on the front end. People is coming from I'm just going to show you from my little 1-page custom post type plugin. It's seriously 70 lines of code. So easy to do. Great way to start out coding for yourself. So that's people. And you can see that as we look at these custom post types, they look just like pages or posts. They're organized in the same way. They have these little menu items. Look, and people, you can also give custom post types their own little icons. So if you had a site where you have a bunch of editors and there's one person who's in charge of adding recipes, or they only add recipes once every year, so they forget what they need to do. It's pretty clear that you can just go to this menu and click this. And you don't have to be telling people, go to widgets and select this, go to the settings screen and select this. It's just, you just go there, you add it, you're done. So people was created by my DIY post type plugin, and recipes was created by CPT UI. And you can see that recipes also has its own taxonomy, which was also created by CPT UI. I've got dessert here, and I could also add dinner or any other kind of new type of category I want to organize my recipes by. And we can also take the basic categories and tags taxonomy and use those in our post types too. On the website that I showed you that has all the different custom post types that pretty much look the same. One of the things they wanted to do was make sure there was one set of categories for the entire site. So they always have, whatever your post type is, you're always using anthropology, archaeology, digital China, because they wanted to make it very easy for users to sort of have a mental model of, if I want to find a podcast about archaeology, it's very clear what I'm going to filter by. It's consistent across the site. It really helps people figure out what's available. Okay, where was I? So we are going to CPT UI, and I'm going to create a new post type. Let's go with book review. I'm going to call it reviews. You really only need, let's go with review, plural label reviews. And this plugin's nice because it pretty much tells you what you put in each box. And single, plural, singular. The slug is review. So it's going to be, when it's a single one, it's going to be review. And that is pretty much all I really need to set. There's a whole bunch more settings, which we'll go into, but that's all I need to get started. And you can see, oh, I already don't like it. I forgot to capitalize that first one. Let me go back and edit that real quick. I want it to be actually. Yeah, I'm going to edit it here. I could also edit it in the, yeah, you're right. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go down to where it has the menu name and I'm going to capitalize it there. Yeah. I'm like I said, I'm going to do something wrong. So just, yell out the right answer when you see me do it wrong. No problem. Okay. This is working now. I mean, it looks like it's working, right? So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to add a review. It would be nice if that was capitalized. That's probably one of those other ones I haven't filled in yet. Here is my review for, what are we going to go with? Okay, sure. Chocolate chip cookies. What do I think about them? Oh, yeah, I'd have to spell punch key today. I'm going to publish it. And it actually worked. Okay, that's funny because sometimes this doesn't work. And I'm going to show you what to do if it doesn't work. Sometimes when you create a new post type, it will be a 404 on this page. And then if you go to the archive, here it's doing it, nothing here. If you are working with custom post types and it looks like you're doing everything right, but it just will not show up, the thing that you need to do that is secret, but if you Google, you'll find it out, is you need to reset your permalinks, or you need to flush your permalinks. And if you are Googling online and somebody says, if your CPTs are screwed up, flush your permalinks, what they mean is go in the admin panel to settings, permalinks, literally hit the button save. And what that does is it sort of rewrites. WordPress goes back and checks all the URLs it has to generate. And if it has forgotten to account for the new custom post type, it'll be like, oh yeah, this is a new thing that I need to put after the word review in the URL. So now let me make sure that's working. Now I don't have an archive for this. Like if I go to reviews, there's nothing there. If I go to review, there's nothing there. This is the second pitfall and the much more annoying pitfall. This is in my slides. There's just a description of how to do that. There are two ways to create custom post type archives in WordPress. I mentioned them briefly. You can either let it just default to the sort of list that your theme already has a template for, where it just lists them all in reverse publication order from newest to oldest. And, if you've arranged it nicely, they'll all have the same size image, but I didn't do that. I'm not a designer. And the other way is to create a landing page where you can have whatever content you want. And also maybe you want to add a list of your post types. So basically you have an auto-generated archive for your custom post type or you don't. And that is in the custom post type settings. So we're going to go. Let me go to reviews. Okay, I think I'm gonna remember how to do this. This is not clear from the interface, but I've written it in the slides so everyone can use a reference later. Yeah. Most of these you don't have to worry about. I don't know when you would ever want to specify a different word for edit or add new or view thing or search for thing or the thing wasn't found. The only time I really use this is for a word like people, where the word person, a singular, the word people are really different. In that case, you might need to go in and check, but in general, you just put the word in and it's the same everywhere. So I just leave them blank. If you had a person instead of featured image, you might want to say headshot or something. Or I don't know, maybe if it was a publication, you might want to say cover image. So those are customizable. Okay, if we want to create an automatically generated archive, we have to go down to has archive. Where are you? Here, it's under settings. So those are all the labels up there. Okay. And again, each of these fields tells you what it is. Some of them don't make a whole lot of sense. I'm not going to go too much into all of them. Public and public queryable and show UI, show and nav menus. These are just, does it show up in the WordPress admin panel? There are some post types like those weird ones I mentioned at the beginning, like navigation menus, revisions, that are sort of secret underground utility post types. And if you're making one of those for some sophisticated, who knows what reason, you might want to change these. But in general, for a regular content type, just leave those all to their default true. REST API, I'm not going to mess with that. I don't do much JavaScript. Yep, has archive. So right now it's set to false. I want it to, if I was going to create my own page at /reviews, I would set that, I would leave it at false. I'm going to create an automatically generated page. I want WordPress to generate an archive for me. So I'm going to set it to true. I believe it will just accept the default for this, but I want my automatically generated archive to be at reviews. The mistake I made today was my first instinct with the URL is to put slashes in there. Do not put slashes in there. It will break. And then there's another one which seems totally unrelated. Okay, so I've got has archive set to true, so it's going to automatically generate the archive. It's going to be at the slug in the URL reviews. And then down here, there is something that has a really weird name, query var. I don't even know what that means. I just know it has to be false. And oh, yeah, but what is it querying? Why does it need the variable? I don't know. I don't know. If I read the documentation, I would have an answer for you, but I basically got as far as figuring out how to do these two things like consistently. Honestly, every project I'd use custom post types on, it takes me 45 minutes and a lot of swearing to figure out the two archive types. So the fact that I have them so clear cut for you right now, this is my triumph for today. This is like, 'cause usually it's just like click everything and eventually it works. Now I'm telling you exactly what to click. You has archive false, no slashes in the archive slug, and set query var to false. And then you go and reset your permalinks, which again is just, I mean, you can click around a little bit if you want to, like, if you want WordPress to think you really, really are doing something that it needs to notice the changes for. I like to do that sometimes. It just makes me feel like I'm really flushing them. Okay. Okay, so now hypothetically reviews. Oh, yeah, it worked. Okay. Seriously. Okay, so if there were several of them, they would be listed here. The newer ones would be on the top, the older ones would be on the bottom. If I wanted to create a different order, I'd have to create an archive template or customize the archive in my builder, in my custom child theme, or in my WordPress full site editing template. I'm not messing with that right now. I'm just letting it act like this. But now I've decided I want my reviews landing page to really, maybe it needs a call to action. Maybe it needs to really highlight the fact, have a hero image, highlight the fact that I have reviews on the site. So I'm going to change this into a DIY landing page. Oh, the main point of this is I could create a page called reviews, but it won't have the right URL. reviews in the URL is being used by this automatically generated page. So if I create a page, I can't create a page called reviews, or if I do, it'll conflict with this. It'll just be bad. I could call it my reviews. That would be fine. Then I could have both the automatically generated archive and this page, and the landing page. But I just want, yeah, it happens. You ever click around a site and you go to a landing page and then somehow you end up later, like by clicking on taxonomy, usually you end up on an archive page that hasn't been designed. That's what's going on there. So I'm going to turn this into a nice landing page at my preferred URL, which is /reviews, where every search engine and the sitemap will know where to find it. And nobody will have to wonder what is on the reviews page. So to do a DIY landing page where WordPress would prefer to generate your automatic archive, I'm going to go to edit post types. Going to click my reviews. Okay, so now has archive is going to be false. I'm going to release that URL for WordPress to use for a page. Where are we? Again, like the last few sites I've built, we've, the clients, like you tell the client, oh, it's going to cost X amount more to design landing pages for each, whatever, for your people or for your staff or for your publications. And they're like, eh. And then 2 months later, they're like, I want to put some introductory text at the top, or I want to highlight my special featured publication this month. And then you're like, okay, because you end up, it just makes sense. I mean, people want to have a way to sort of feature what's going on, do a little introduction, and then do their big listing underneath. So has archive is going to be false. What that's going to do is release that URL, this one right here. I'm actually going to delete that as well, so that review and reviews are not being taken up by any automatically generated content. And then query var, whatever it is going to be true. I love the help text here. It sets the query var key for this post type. Yeah, I write queries a lot and I'm not quite sure what that means. Okay, so now if we go to reviews, the single one hasn't changed. It's still at review. My content strategist would not like the way I have it saying reviews sometimes and review other times. It should always be consistent for good SEO. Sorry about that. But reviews, the page there's nothing there because that WordPress is not generating the archive for this. So I'm going to create my page reviews. I'm going to say not just books and movies, also food. And I can put an image. Got like an image of some pie. Again, not a designer. Okay, so this is, imagine I was a designer. That would be an awesome landing page. Okay. I am going to show you how WordPress has already integrated this post type that I made into its sort of concept of what the site is doing. I'm going to make my own list using the recently useful query loop block. About this time last year, query loop was not useful. In the last 6 months, I'd say query loop has started to do everything I wanted to do. I used to use a plugin to create lists of posts, filtered lists of posts. Like every site needs filtered lists of posts. We used to use short codes like the cat list plugin. And then there's like the builders all have grids that you can create. And now it's built right into WordPress. Nope, I actually want it to be a grid. Oh, go back. No. My windows are on top of each other in an irritating manner. Okay, here we go. Query loop. I want to choose, and I want it to be a grid. And I'm going to go with this. Okay. I want it to be 2 columns. I'm going to update it so it sort of latches on. And now I'm going to go. I do not want to inherit the query from the template because I'm on a page that's just a page. As soon as I unclick that, it shows me my post types to choose from. And all the post types on my site are here. And look, I really should have gone in and capitalized all those labels, but it's okay. You could go back to CPT UI on the labels page and capitalize every single one of those ones that are the default lowercase. Okay, so I'm going to filter by post type review, but you can see that I didn't have to do anything. WordPress just understands that it's in the post type pull down. It's getting a list of post types and my new one is there. I'm going to order it by, alphabetically by title. And I actually only have one review, so this isn't going to be very impressive, but if I had two, they would be in 2 columns. And I can go in here. It's this easiest to conceptualize if you look at this is the sort of 3 diagonal lines list view of your blocks. So I've got my query loop on the outside, which is telling WordPress what post type I want to see, how many of them I want to see, and what order to put them in. And then this is sort of a wrapper for this set of fields. I don't care about post date. I'm going to remove that. Okay, where's my delete? I don't care about post date. Remove post date. I don't want the read more text. This is not 1998. Maybe it'll just disappear. What I do want to add is, let me see. I want to add the post excerpt. No, I've already got that. Post author. What I really want is to put some custom fields in here to make this a much more interesting and useful custom post type. Do I have the featured image? You know what? I don't have the featured image. So I want to insert before, and I want to add, I'm still there, post featured image. And it's just going to look like this because it's going to pull the featured image for each post. And I must not have added a featured image for chocolate chip cookies yet. I'm going to update that, and that's going to be sort of half built. But you can see where I'm going with that. There's my little author thing. That's my content. Yeah, that's old. It's a generic username. It must be pulling my avatar for my email address, though. I'm going to edit my review and add a screenshot of cookies. Oh, I hate full screen editing. I always get lost. Here we go. No. Featured image. Set featured image. These are cookies. Yeah, I'm gonna here this kitten looks a bit like a cookie. Yeah, this guy is a chocolate chip cookie.
It's a great name.
Okay, and I'm gonna add one more. What's another thing I could review? Bagels, sure. No worries. Okay, so review featured image. This guy's name is going to be Bagels. He's about as smart as a bagel. And where's my excerpt? You know what? I think I forgot to tell this custom post type that it has an excerpt.
I thought it showed.
It's showing the content, which is like the excerpt. I'm going to go to
more content, it would be listing the whole thing out.
Yeah. Well, it would be automatically generating the excerpt. Okay, so now I'm confused because I have this hero image. I'm gonna.
Food is cats. We don't know.
Yeah, let's insert after query loop is below here, so we all know where our query loop is. And then I'll add a separator. Okay. Okay, so there's my 2 guys. It would be better if they were in a columns. Let's go to query loop, post template group. Is it going to let me change this into columns? Or I'm going to have to do something confusing and complicated. Yeah, I might have missed the boat on putting them in a grid rather than in a single column. I like grids. There's probably a way to do it, but I don't remember how off the top of my head. Okay. Any questions so far? We're going to go into custom taxonomies and custom fields next. Is this pretty clear so far? You can see like the basics. You could set up your archive. You can create your labels. It'll show up in the menu where you expect it to, so that your Site editors will know where to find it. You can add categories and tags to them, or you might want to add a custom taxonomy to them. You can add a custom taxonomy using CPT UI also does custom taxonomies. Down in this add edit taxonomy. So what's a good thing for reviews? Who the reviewer is, number of stars. I mean, eventually you could do something with number of stars. Yeah, I'm gonna do I'm gonna say reviewer because it's gonna be different from I don't know. I can't think of anything about categories and tags you'd want to be. It's a terrible example. Let's add one to people. I can think of all sorts of taxonomies that I could use for people. Okay, so for people, we're going to have type of person, types of person, type of person.
You use the underscores in the slug, rather than just hyphens.
It says specifically underscores to be named instead of spaces. You shouldn't use dashes because dashes are used in URLs, I believe, and this is, yeah, it doesn't want you to use dashes.
Okay.
I'm not even sure if it'll let me use dashes. It was, but basically when I did this, it was automatically putting the underscores in. I'm actually hitting space and it's replacing space with underscores.
Okay.
So I'm taking its word for that. Like
Is this
I
the
meant to put
most
space.
recent version?
Sorry,
Is this the most recent version of CPT UI that you're using?
I believe so. I just installed it today. Yeah, it's just
Okay.
the free version.
Okay, I can't remember exactly. I used to work for the company that
Oh yeah.
does this plugin, and so I know the guy that works on it mostly.
Oh
And I'm
cool.
pretty sure he put something in so that you could start to use dashes instead. And I think the
Oh.
underscore was because of WordPress standards or whatever.
Okay, well, that's super useful. Thank you. It does have a note here that I could probably make it work if I wanted to use dashes for URLs. I'd have to mess with the custom rewrite rules, which is a little more than I want to get into right now. I have done that before, but it can, it's one of those things that if you screw it up, you'll be 45 minutes sorting it out. But that's good to know that you can put dashes in your slug if you feel like need to be there. And honestly, sometimes you might want to, like, I mean, I imagine especially for like, maybe if you're dealing with like non-English languages, there might be words or compound words that you need hyphens for it to make sense. Co-creator, for example, the word co-creator should have a dash in it. But, so that's very useful. Thank you. Okay, so I'm creating this one type of person and I'm attaching it only to people. I could attach it to everyone, but it should now be appearing under people. And now it's going to act just like categories and tags do. Oh, sorry. Speaking of, let me show you the difference between categories and tags. There should be an option here for whether I want my taxonomy. I want my type of person. Do I want it to behave like a category? Categories can be nested inside each other. They're hierarchical, or like tags, which are not hierarchical. They're more free form and they're used more, like categories more reflect the structure of the site, and tags are more like, I would use them to connect smaller volumes of content together. Yeah, keywords almost, but things that aren't like part of the site structure. So way down here, there should be something about, here we go. Public, yes. Public variable, yes. Hierarchical, false. I am going to make it hierarchical because I'm going to have different nested categories of person. And all these are like, is it going to behave like a normal tag or category, or are you doing some sort of secret text? Are you just using taxonomy to provide some sort of secret functionality the users don't need to know about? I'm just using it like regular taxonomy. So I'm going to leave the rest of these default. Rewrite hierarchical, no. Show admin column. I'm actually going to, yes, show the admin column. Yeah, and I do want them to be in alphabetical order when they are retrieved by something that displays taxonomy. So now I've got types of person. I think that one of those things I checked, yeah, it gave me a types of person column here, which is nice. I always like to have that there. And I'm going to add a type of person. My one type of person is going to be pet. And my next type of person is going to be cat, who is a child of pet. And now I can go in here and select these guys and make them, no, it didn't automatically create my. It doesn't give me a way to edit that here. So I have to do them one by one. Maybe that was a setting that I skipped, but I can now go in here, type of person, and create pet cat. Now that added it to the database. It did not add it to, it didn't add, this is the point at which my infrastructure presentation stops, because displaying it on the front end totally depends on how you have your front end set up. Again, you could be using a custom child theme, you could be using one of the builders, or you could be using the WordPress full site editing, all of which have different methods for getting that taxonomy or any custom fields you create out of the database and putting them on your single post page. It doesn't happen automatically. You have to set it where to display, and then you have to set how it looks when it displays there. I'm going to create a custom field because I do have a free plugin installed that will easily show me custom fields or put custom fields in archives and posts. So I'm using for custom fields, I'm using the free version of Advanced Custom Fields, which is currently owned by WP Engine. I like to create one field group per post type. You don't necessarily need to, but it does make it a lot easier to figure out what's going on when you have a whole bunch of special custom fields on your site. So I'm going to create one for, let's go crazy and add one for reviews and see if we can't do some sort of rating thing. Reviews fields. And because this is a really nice plugin, it gives you all sorts of different ways you can, just different kinds of data. Do I want it to be a date? Do I want it to be a color? A date time? What I really want is like a number between 1 and 5. That way I could give it a number of stars. I'm going to give it a number. And I'm going to say, this is called its rating. I'm going to let that auto-generate. Default values, there's not going to be one. And I want to go into validation, and the minimum value is 0 stars, and the maximum value is 5 stars. So everything's going to get a rating between 0 and 5. And because WordPress understands what post types are, it already down in this pull down for post types has my post type for review. It also is picking up these venue and organizer from the events calendar. And then post and page the default, person and recipe are ones I've already made. So if post type is equal to review, then it is going to show me a number field where I can enter a value between 0 and 5. And let's go over here to review and go to bagels, and it's down here. So I'm just going to be off the top of my head. Let's see if 6. Yeah, no, it didn't like that. Value must be equal or lower to 5. Bagels, they're a solid 4.5. No. Sometimes they get squished, but usually they're pretty good. Again, I haven't done anything to display this on the front end, but I do have a free plugin installed that will take care of that for me. Not in a particularly sophisticated way, but this is like not a great way to do it, but I'm gonna, I have this plugin, it's free and it just does one thing and it does it well. It's called Meta Block, and all it does is go to advanced custom fields or wherever you've created your custom fields, and you just type in the name of the field you created. And I'm gonna put in my prefix rating, and then I'm gonna say it's gonna be black, and Let's give it a background just so I can tell it's there. This is going to look terrible. But... So now, this is rating 4.5. Now I did that on this single post. What you want to do is create a template for your custom post, again, using your custom child theme, your builder, or your WordPress full site editor, and add that to the template. I'm not going to do that because I don't use the full site editor enough to be competent in adding that quickly. But I can add this to the archive using the same plugin. So let me see, let's go to reviews. And this is kind of nice. It'll fit right into the query loop. So I'm going to go edit page. And I'm going to make sure I'm in my query loop. And I want to put the review right under the title. So I'm going to say insert after. And it's going to be meta field block. And it's going to be called rating. And I'm going to label it rating and update. And now when I look at my query loop, each of these is going to have, and it's going to pull the rating. I didn't add one for chocolate chip cookies, but it's going to, because I put it in the query loop, WordPress knows to go and get it for each post. So I can very easily customize my archives in that way, a little more easily than I can customize my actual single page review post type. Chocolate chip cookies 5.0 easy. Again, it's not on the single page. I didn't add it there, but it should be showing up now on the archive page. And there's his. Okay.
Nice one done for
Like, oh, worked. Okay. In my slides, I have the notes on how the settings for auto-generated archive versus a landing page style archive or landing page style main page for your custom post type. And these slides will be posted on the meetups page in the comments.
Don't worry, we'll still call you.
Right. That's what the Slack channel's for.
Remember we made chocolate chip?
Right. Yeah.
Person.
Okay, let me make sure that I've gone through everything here. Okay, my useful plugins that I'm using are CPT UI, Advanced Custom Fields, Post Type Switcher. Let me show you Post Type Switch real quick. Post Type Switcher is, say I made a review and I'm like, chocolate chip cookies, this is silly that there's a review. This should be a recipe. So Post Type Switcher adds this pull down right here where it just lists the post types as you make them. And I'm going to change that into a recipe. And now it's, if I reload, it'll be gone from there and it's up here under recipes. That's super useful if you are doing what I have to do where you're adding a custom post type after the site has been created and you need to migrate a bunch of posts into your custom post type. You just go to your post screen and you can like select all of them, do bulk actions, edit, apply, and then just down here, I could change every single one of these into a different post type if I wanted to. And I have had to do that on many occasions. But it's like I said, WordPress custom post types are built into WordPress so well that this type of operation, WordPress is so comfortable with it. It's just operating at its comfort level of categories, tags, basic infrastructure. Plugins that you find will tie into this, themes will tie into this functionality. If you make your own plugin with a custom post type in it, you're never gonna have to update it. It's gonna be backwards compatible forever. They're just really robust, sturdy, and a good way to organize things if you need to add that extra level of customization to your site. I think that's it. I'm done. Who's got questions? Thank you. Thank you.
I have a question in the chat.
How does custom post type switcher? Oh, that is a good question, Sally. Let's see what happened because I don't know, because I changed chocolate chip cookies had a rating, which was Sally in the Zoom chat is asking how custom post type switcher handles custom fields, which have been assigned to a certain custom post type. So I took chocolate chip cookies, which used to be a review that had a custom field rating, and I changed it to a recipe. I think that rating is going to be gone. Yeah, it's gone. It's actually still in the database. I mean, yeah, it's in the database, but because WordPress doesn't realize when WordPress displays the screen, WordPress isn't like I'm showing that chocolate chip cookies post. What WordPress is saying is I'm showing a recipes post. So I bet what I can do is, this is kind of sloppy, but I bet I can go in here to custom fields to, yeah, I think this is going to be a little messy, but I would have to like document it for the site editors. I'm going to edit this, and down here, I'm going to make sure it says and if it's equal to recipe, because I'm kind of like, I know that I've been doing these migrations on my site. So I'm going to also add it to recipe and save changes. So now when I go to recipe, chocolate chip cookies. Oh no. Thank you. Okay, permalinks won't hurt, certainly. When in doubt, refresh your permalinks. When in doubt, permalink structure updated. Now it didn't delete it from the database. I know it's still in the database, but where it is in the database, I couldn't tell you. Where is it? Oh, that's interesting. I'm gonna have to figure out what happened to that.
Or maybe do you just need to add it to your loop now?
Add it to where, Sally?
Do you need to add it then to your query loop block on your, when you edit the on the
Well,
edit
it's not in
the-
the back end though either.
I think you need to change the logic, when you added it to the and.
Oh, of course. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, you're quite right. Yes. There's no place. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
it needs to be an or.
It needs to
or?
be an or. Right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Or, there we go. Or, so there's never a post that's going to be a review and a recipe. So it's if the post is review or a recipe. Thanks. That was some good troubleshooting.
Good catch, Nancy.
Yeah. Jinxed it. You jinxed it. I said, no, it'll totally work now because Nancy was correct. Yep, there it is. And it saved the
Woohoo!
value. So it was in the database. Woohoo! That's how you recover your data. It's there. It's very rarely lost. That's how WordPress databases get all full of crud, because nothing is ever really removed. It's just in there connected in some way that you can't get to it. Yeah, good luck finding it. Okay.
So something to note, if you inherit a site and they want to change everything, say, okay, we got to do some testing. This is going to take a couple days.
Oh, a couple days. Yeah. I mean, I would create a giant spreadsheet, and in that spreadsheet, I would create a list of every post type and custom field and taxonomy, and I would show how they map. Migrating taxonomy is terrible. I mean, if you have to do that and there's more than like a dozen posts, you're looking at like 5 hours or so. Because sometimes you just have to, if you've got 200 posts, WordPress can at the most change taxonomy on like 100 posts at a time without timing out, at least on the hosts that I use. So you have to do maybe chunks of 50. And so that's a lot of like selecting all, editing. Yeah, I would be pretty careful if I was migrating, but it can be done, certainly. And like I said, stuff doesn't disappear, it just gets lost. So make a backup. The way I approach migrations is you just do it over and over and over until it's right. So you make a backup, you do it, you see how it ended up, and then you just do it again better. And, eventually it'll be right. And you won't have to worry about your backup so much.
And that's why you have to have a sandbox site.
You absolutely cannot be doing this on your live site. No, you need to be doing this on a sandbox. Right. Yeah, if something goes wrong with, like, especially if you get your permalinks screwed up, you can create like infinite feedback loops and redirects. You can really screw things up, and the site will be super broke. I haven't done that in the last few months, but it can happen.
I know my server guy would be like, what the heck were you doing?
Oh yeah. yeah, sometimes my content strategist has very specific URL paths he wants for things and they conflict and your permalinks start fighting each other. And then you're like, all you can do is just start deleting things until you can load the site again. Any other questions? It's going to be networking discussion time then. All right, well, it's 7:45. If anybody wants to leave now, you will not be shamed. It's totally okay to sneak out after the presentation's done. I'm going to stop the recording at this point.
Stop sharing.
Stop recording. Okay. Bye.